TGIF, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Iron Realm Media's Have No Sphere show. My name is Josh Corey. We've got a full house. We've got Walt, Zach, Adam, and John Savage with us today. We've got a special guest, Karen B, joining us. Always a good time when Karen joins us here at the Realm. Stick around, it's going to be a good time. We are awake, we are awake, we are not alone. We are striving for more. We are awake, we are awake, we are not alone. We are striving for more. Iron Realm Media. That is some awesome stuff. Well, let's just jump right in and say hello to the fellas. Let me say, how about Adam? I don't usually do Adam first. Adam, how are you doing today? I was
busy. Christmases are coming and people are panicking, but no, really busy. Just a quick shout out on that note. The reason it was busy is one of the lovely ladies I work with to go into hospital. Got atrial fibrillation is the thing, and she's going to be okay. But shout out to Charlotte, love and prayers and thoughts with you, honey.
I suffer from atrial fibrillation as well. It's scary stuff.
They've booked her in. They're going to try and put her back in sync, basically. So knock it back, I think. At least they're taking note of it. It's something she's had. This is how crap this country is, you know. Something she's had for years, and suddenly now they're going to help her. So that's the bonus. Yeah, sending a bit of love out to Charlotte.
Make sure she takes her aspirin. Got to watch out for blood clots when you suffer from AFib. So,
well, they've started her on one of these new anticoagulant things, rather Roboxone. Xarelto, I think it'll probably be called. So
that's scary in and of itself. That's a whole new can of worms.
Lots of stuff for these, but I won't go into them now. But yeah.
Well, I hope everything gets better, or at least improves somewhat.
Yeah, but other than that, bloody busy week, mate. To be honest with you, chatting with lots and lots. I told you I'd come back eventually. I told you. Obviously, with you guys, had a good chat with Gary and Dee Dee. They were kind enough. They were going to tell me who they've got lined up, right? And I said, don't, because I'll cock it up and I will spill the beans. So they're not going to tell me that, but they did share some of the details of the venue, and I've got to be honest, man, it looks awesome. And I was chatting with him, Zach, having a look round, Zach, to see where we can possibly get our little planned exhibit of the Zabala formula. So, yeah, a good evening there. And other than that, I do want to give just one big shout out to a guy that got in touch with me this week. It was to do with the maths I was babbling on about last week, and as opposed to me on paper, it's a guy called Adrian Fry. Shout out Adrian, top bloke, and we sat just chatting for a bit. But he's really good at modelling it. He's got I opened up the computer program, and that was about as much as I could manage. But yeah, he's really quite skilled at this. But what he was showing is from what I could tell and what we were chatting, because we didn't sit there hours going through it, but the angles were the same and the same values we were using, so the theory behind it seemed to match up. But yeah, nice bloke. I want to catch up with him again as soon as I get a bit of time. But yeah, shout out to Adrian Fry there, mate. Yeah, that was the week that was. Looking forward to tonight.
That was quite a busy week.
That's why you don't introduce Adam first.
Maybe why he did it first tonight.
As opposed to our king of succinctness, one Mr. John Savage. John, how was your week?
Good. Looking forward to tonight. How about you, Zach? See, I could whittle on about plumbing and all sorts of cack that I've been up to, and fixing the heating out in me bloody bus again. No.
You've been doing a bit of plumbing, John, or just
pick any locks?
Yeah, do you want it all? Yeah. I'm gutted. I've got a new lock picking set, and it's arrived, and it was meant to take 6 weeks. It came here in 2, and it's just been sat there, and it's perfect for Euro cylinder locks. Nice and thin, long picks. But I'm being very good and disciplined. I'm not opening it until my wife leaves me this month to bugger off to Australia. So my Christmas will be early. And the dogs.
Good things come to those who wait.
I've waited long enough. I want to pick me little Euro cylinders. Anyway, moving on.
Zach. Yes, let's get right into Zach. Zach, how are you, sir?
Well, it's been a wonderful week. I hope y'all can hear me. It's raining like cats and dogs here in Texas. But it's been a wonderful. I've had internet for a few days, so I've been really enjoying it. And I got a few leaks in the tent. Haven't seen rain for like a month and a half, and I had a couple of mishaps happen. There's a couple of leaks, but I'm staying dry, and Hank and I are healthy, so I'm not going to worry about it. Life is very good. I'm happy.
Just remember to take off your scissor hands when you go in the tent.
Any of that. Yeah, exactly.
Mishaps. That sounds interesting.
But no, I have a little bit more repairs. Yeah, but no, it's been a wonderful week. I can't complain. On my way to Florida here pretty soon, so
that's going to be
a little bit warmer down there. Yeah, I'll be visiting Walt here in a little bit. Excited to see him again. Yeah, life is good. I can't. He's been treating me well lately. Been selling some hats, so I've been busy. Yeah, I'm floating on cloud 9. I'm just glad to be here. I love Fridays.
I saw you got a shout out for your hats there, mate, as well today. One was seen it.
Yeah, the plain truth, Travis. Yeah, that warmed my heart, man. That just really felt real good. He's a great guy, and I don't know what else to say about him. He's a good friend too. We've been chatting a lot more lately and stuff like that, and I don't know. He always says stuff about me that just makes me want to start crying. It's just like, dude, come on, quit blowing smoke up my ass. Come on.
Well, you actually received a title this week as well, didn't you? Didn't you receive an award of some sort? Or I don't know. I saw a video out there. I assumed you must have gotten an award in the mail, or they're sending it to you. But didn't you somehow receive the someone awarded you the title of the stupidest person on the planet Earth? Didn't I see that somewhere?
Oh yeah, that wasn't this week though. That was years ago.
Oh, was it years ago?
Yeah. That was Well,
we would have been in your title a long time
when
ago.
I made that Stephen Hawking video.
Just a man of many titles, Mr. Zabala.
Too nice for rice. The nomad, stupidest man on the planet Earth, Zabala.
And my mate.
Well, the last for this evening, but always the first in our hearts. One Mr. Walter Johnson. Walt, how are you doing tonight?
That's right. Walt's back. No mask this week, damn it. Love the title last week. That was good. I laughed when I saw it. I missed you guys. I missed you guys for sure last week. And we had a great little birthday session. I'll have a little something to show everyone. Hopefully, I'll pick it up this weekend. Some of my artwork I endeavored with for Michelle's event that we had there. I won't spoil it. You'll see hopefully next week.
Oh, tease.
Right. I know, right? Well, I mean, all I could do right now would be show you a picture that won't do it justice because it hasn't been fired yet. I've been told when it got fired, it would bring out the colors and it would look like a whole different piece. So then you can show the before and after. But if you just show the before now, it's really drab and not really colorful. And trying to hold the suspense. Do what?
I said, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Is it practical? Is it just a piece of art?
No, it's just this coolness. It's just coolness. I couldn't really create as much as I thought I would be able to in this adventure. I wasn't actually throwing clay or anything, but I made it appropriate. You'll see.
Is it an ashtray?
No,
that's all I ever made in pottery.
You'll see. You'll see. Oh no, it was no.
Is it a 3-foot water pipe?
None of those. None of those.
Not a bong, because you can't use that.
That's what I thought, Josh.
Not that. Like I said, if I'd have been able to throw some clay, then we could have had a water base. I don't know what you guys were talking about, but yeah. Or at least that's what I told my grandma it was every time she came by the house. That's my base. Don't worry about the flowers not in it. That's okay. The water's a little smelly. Anyway, moving on. Hello, everybody else.
So here's something I thought was kind of cool.
Well, how was your week, Josh?
I was getting into it. You're pushing back.
Right. No, I just thought you was going to move on. I was thinking, poor Josh, it's not fair.
Nope, I was actually going to get into it because it is really kind of cool. Every year, just before Thanksgiving, just before really Black Friday, my girlfriend gets her bonus from work, and this year was a pretty decent bonus, I guess, as far as bonuses go, but about 40 to 45% of it went to taxes, which was just a bit ridiculous. So it left her with just not nearly as much as she was hoping, considering what it was that they gave her. So we had the whole conversation on, well, how would we do best to keep them out of our money? And of course, the only thing we could come up with would be to form a whole new entity, right? You take her entity and my entity and you join them together and you create a new entity, and that new entity gets better tax benefits. So we've decided that's what we're going to do. Going to go ahead and probably next week run over to the Justice of the Peace and create that new entity. Go ahead and
get married.
Congratulations.
Well done.
It's one of those things. We've both already been married. Both of our spouses cheated on us with someone from our church and left us with that person.
So much in common.
We understand very well how meaningless the vows of a traditional marriage can be. So
you could always create a trust.
We could.
Be a lot easier. Probably a lot more expensive, actually. Although maybe not in the long run.
But I don't know we'd necessarily get all the same tax benefits, especially when it comes to trying to cash our bonus checks.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. We ordered just a couple cool little rings off the internet. It's got the abalone shell in it. It's really cool little rings. It's just going to be a quick little ceremony up at the courthouse, and that'll be it.
I think that's brilliant, pal. I really do. Congratulations.
That's how little paperwork we want to have. Is she's going to keep her name. It's just really, we're doing it for tax reasons only. We know that if the other wants to bail, that it's going to happen. So it's not like it's a necessarily these are forever vows, because those vows are said regardless of whether or not we have that piece of paper. So the piece of paper just gives us tax break. That's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it, at least.
I agree with you there, Josh, but I think that I challenge you that on the day when you say those in front of people other than your future wife, that you say those words and in front of everyone. There's something special about it, mate. It's one of the strong. I don't have many strong memories from the past, really, but they're still vivid, and I still well up. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of the best. As was a religious service, but I wasn't taken by the religious aspect of the service. It was the announcing our love to everybody else that was in our lives, you know, and that was whatever reason it's for. I think it'll still be.
I forgot my wedding day the day after.
What a shock.
Yeah, right. It's
Did you
good job we
record it,
recorded
Savage?
Yeah. Don't worry. And I remind her every day, in sickness and in health.
Don't forget. You said you'd be here even if I was sick. Love you, bye. See. Good night, sweetie. Love you. Just remember, you said you'd be here even if I was sick.
Actually, I got married twice. Once in this country and once in Australia. And that was by my wife's grandfather, which was all very interesting. To me, obviously.
What's the date you're going for, Josh? Is there any numerology in there, or is that a curiosity? Is it?
Well, you know me and number.
Easy.
But she actually did work it out. She actually took like the numbers of our birthdays and, you know, added them up to the lowest single digit, then added them all up, and then came up with a date of the 17th, which we were going to shoot for, but my mom is coming into town at one point. She'll be here on the 13th, I think. So really the plan is, because we don't want a big to-do, we're not going to tell anybody really until after the fact, and I know that none of my family listens to this.
Aren't you lucky that we don't have a wide reach?
So you've legally given notice here on the air, and everything's covered.
No, so I was just going to take my mom, after she's in town, down to her parents, and her parents are pretty religious, and they're going to be thrilled that we are no longer living in sin. So we were just going to take them down and have a dinner and just say, all right, look, here's what we did. It's done. You can congratulate us all you want, but there's going to be no more to do. You're not having any say in the matter because it's already taken care of.
Damn, you've got some longevity on your side there, Josh. Your mum's mum and dad?
Well, no, my mom, sorry, and then Dixie, my girlfriend, her mom.
Okay, right, I've got you.
Right.
Oh, bloody hell.
That would be serious
That
longevity.
would be right.
But because I didn't want to necessarily do it while my mom was in town and have to make it a point to exclude her from it, because that would just be rude as fuck. So I decided to just say, screw the 17th. Let's do it before she gets here. That way she can't get mad at me for excluding her and doing it when she's already here. So we'll do it beforehand and just tell them after she gets here.
Good luck with that.
What's the worst that could happen?
You've got her a TV.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother story. See, my mom's a bit of a hoarder. And when I say a bit of a hoarder, she's like a full-blown hoarder. She would be on the TV show, but she wouldn't let the camera crew inside her house. Really, she's the only person to have stepped foot inside of her house in like 15 years. But she does hoard stuff, and one of the things she happens to have is two 55-inch flat-screen high-def TVs sitting in her garage. Right, she doesn't have room to put them up anywhere. There's nowhere to set them. There's boxes and stuff everywhere. So she just got them just in case.
I'm sure you've got a basement you could use them in.
Well, here in Missouri, she's in Georgia. She's 10 hours away. A 10-hour drive. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's got them there. But we didn't want to wait for her to move back because she's been saying she's going to move back to Missouri for the last 20 years. So rather than wait for her to bring the 55-inch TVs that she has already, we just went ahead and bought one for her for when she gets here to visit. I mean, because when she's here to visit, she doesn't have anything to watch because we don't really watch TV. We have the fire
buying TVs
because they're cheap. It's cheap.
We've just been talking to Rob, haven't we? What was this, 75 foot or
Cheap
something?
mind control. I mean, it's the best kind. The kind that's cheap.
it was a quarter the size of the East Coast where he's at. He was bragging. Was it 75 inches?
I thought it was 75 foot or something. Anyway, guys, we've done the 20 minutes of
we have.
dulling the tits out
yes, we have.
any potential ballers, talking over each other, and all the rest of it. So we could probably get onto a bit of flat earths now that they've probably all buggered off.
I've not run out of waffle yet, mate.
I'll carry on then.
There was one thing from this week, because I felt a little rushed, John, to be honest with you, trying to summarise my week. But one of the best bits was,
get on with it.
Where did you go, Savage? The phone rang back straight away. It was like, yeah. But we had a quick chat with Martin. What night was it? Was that
last night?
Well, that was last night.
Even I remember that.
This week has been insane.
Where did I go?
Night.
Well, we went, and I'm
everyone
literally
buggered off.
And the phone rang again, yeah, and you didn't come back.
Well, I'd obviously buggered off by that stage because everyone else had buggered off.
Well, I was buggering off, but I buggered back.
Well, I don't have that luxury. You know, I'm either here or I'm not.
But yeah, so we had a bit of a pre-show, didn't we, with Martin before today, and I thought that was worth a mention. And the fact that we upset Walt because me and Josh ram-raided Martin's eBay account and bought all the watches before Walt could set an account up. So
that'd be faster with your fingers, Walt.
Yeah.
Do you want to put some context on that?
I'm definitely seeing that.
For
it's a beautiful handmade watch. I would love to show you, but I can't even get to the picture now. I'm not allowed to see it on eBay anymore.
I can in my purchase list.
So how many people do you reckon that are listening now or in the future have any idea what you're talking about?
Okay. You want some context, don't you, Mr. Savage?
Context.
We'll be good. Was I the only one who didn't come back last night? Was everyone else there? Yeah. Right.
Literally straight.
Even Zach got in on it.
Right.
Rob came in.
Don't know what happened there. But yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
So Martin, a while back, wasn't he? Has been sent a load of handmade faces and the detail of the handmade watches that are. How would you describe them? They're not AZ maps, are they? They're kind of the old school flat maps. And it is based. I'm not sure that I can't wait to see it close up. Thought there was they're those, and I think me and Josh were quite taken with them as Martin was describing them, and so was Walt. But you know, you snooze, you lose. So,
especially if you don't know what time it is.
Yeah. So they're all gone, but I know there are still some Flat Earth British coins left on his website as well. So if you type in Flat Earth British on eBay, you could still get hold of them, individually numbered.
Glow in the dark. Hello.
I got mine off Martin at the conference in April, and I take my glasses off. Number 83, which reduces to 11 and 2 ones, which is 2. Don't know what that means.
Means we're all doomed.
Could well be. But yeah, we had a good morning this morning as well, guys, didn't we? With Martin.
An amazing morning.
I missed the end.
I knew the 2 hours would not be at all adequate. So yeah, it was great. It flew by. Oh my God.
Great introduction. It's a great way to start off a relationship with Martin, Lika, and TFR.
That's not the first time you've had him on, is it?
He was here on our show on Friday afternoon with us a while back. I would guess a month and a half, 2 months ago, if not a bit longer. But we had yet to have him over there on Truth Frequency Radio on the Ironworks.
I didn't hear the the last bit either. I had to shit off. So is he assured future revisits to really go into some of this? Or
The door is always open, so
I think
that's
it
a
pissed him off.
standing
He said
invitation.
he'd come back.
Yeah, when you left, he said, "Fuck off, fuck Adam, I'm out of here."
I've no problem with that. I can imagine it said with love. So yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man.
And truly, I'll do my. I'm gonna usually I'll only throw up a half of a show to entice people to go check us out on TFR, but it'll be the one I'll put up pretty soon on both channels, mine and here on Iron Realm. That'll have the whole show. It's just too good to tease you with.
Cool. I think it's time.
I think so.
I have run out of waffle, Josh. So
Well,
And my sincere apologies. Martin did not swear in any form at all. He is not a cursing man.
well, then for our featured guest for this evening is, well, I guess my dog's in the background, but also absolute friend of the show. Returning once again is Miss Karen B. Karen, welcome back to Have No Fear on the Iron Realm Media.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to hear your dulcet tones coming through my headset. That's good stuff.
Hi, Karen B. Nice to finally meet you. It's Josh Savage. You're intimidating. Something about your voice is you're quite scary and quite intimidating, I must say. Do you get that often?
Yes, people tell me that I'm scary all the time, and I don't know why. I don't do anything to
I
anybody.
think you have a teacher tone to your voice. You sound like someone's teacher. You have a very well-mannered, I don't even know how to explain it. There's an authority to your voice that just is there. And welcome, Karen, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Karen, and I've heard you go off on one person. So you can't say you've never done anything negative to somebody. I
Well,
remember the first time I heard you speak, you just went off on this guy. I fell in love with you right then. I was like, oh, this lady is awesome. I can't wait to
in my
deserved
defense, he
it.
probably
Cool.
deserved it. He probably deserved it.
Absolutely.
It's
I
that
agree.
dry sense of humour, I think, that it's just, yeah, there's something about it. It's bloody scary.
Well, I mean, you know how it is in flat Earth. You know, if you're once you start to, get even just a little bit known, you start getting a lot of flack from people. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this is why we don't have women on very often, because they're just too scary for us poor little blokes. But no, it's great to meet you finally.
good evening, Karen. It's Adam.
Hi,
I
Adam.
wouldn't go with the scary, mate. I would say respected, and you're someone I've respected. And I think if anybody's scared of you, it's because you know what you're on about. So I don't necessarily say fear. I'd say respect, mate, because you are, to me, one of the people who are worth listening to when you post stuff. And what's happened this week, it's always relevant, not of the trivial, and on topic, and particularly enjoyed it this week. It was a good vid. But not
Well,
just
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And I can tell you guys from her time with us over there on Truth Frequency Radio, all we need to do is start talking a little Bigfoot, maybe some ministry, and Karen's going to listen right up and blast.
Do the Bigfoot, because John shocked us all this week with his knowledge and blew us away and left us in the dark. So I'll hand over to Savage, who is the Sasquatch expert.
You're into
Yeah.
Bigfoot?
You might have to remind me there, Adam, but something I said. No, I thought this was common knowledge. Karen, you probably know. I've been into Bigfoot for ages, but I'm into everything, not just Bigfoot. I mean, you name it, everything gets a fair shout and a look, and quickly trashed if it's nonsense or whatever. But Bigfoot, I think there's way more evidence for a Bigfoot than there is for the nonsense of dinosaurs or whatever, massive lizard creatures and things like that, flying feathered lizard creatures. But I thought it was common knowledge that Bigfoot had been given database status. Its DNA had been, its genomes had been markered or whatever the hell they do with it, and it had actually been given a Homo yada yada something Latin name, and was in a database. It was Sasquatch, not Bigfoot, obviously. But did I dream that? Quite possible.
No, there was a genome mapping project that was done on Bigfoot by a woman by the name of Dr. Melba Ketchum. And it was her, and there was a whole team of people. It wasn't just her, but yeah, they did a study over a course of time. They did it. I mean, I don't know how much time they spent, but they spent a good bit with a certain clan that they were watching, and that's how they mapped the genome.
And it's in the database now, isn't it? It's in the gene database as being a legitimate species, something along those lines.
I believe so. I can't remember. It's been a while since I looked into all of that, but yeah, but it did come back as an unknown hominid. But at first, it was coming back as human though, because it was so close to human and nothing else matched it. So they would send it off to these labs, and it would come back as human.
Right. And then didn't they find out that it was a human mother, but the father was unknown or something? Or it was missing, not missing. No, that's Jesus. Something along those lines, that they could identify one of them as a humanoid, but I think the father was unidentified or whatever, which got everyone's tail spinning.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
There you go.
It's gonna cop him. He's gonna be popping in
child.
tonight. If you've got a court case coming up, they're the kind of words you want to repeat.
Anyway, you satisfied now, Adam?
No, because there's a bit that's popped in my head with regards to this. I remember watching stuff on Chinese Bigfoot, and there was lots of like village tales about how sometimes they'd catch them, and sometimes some of the men in the village would have intimate relationships, and the offspring would often be some kind of hybrid, really strong, tall, but often mute. They could understand, but often mute. And it wasn't just one or two, and there were photos of some of them, and they were then, I think there was an offspring of one of these people who was more human. So there was some descendancy. So I think there's, like I say, John, I'd give everything a fair hearing and have a little look at it. So just something else that have popped in my head tonight. I don't know how valid it is.
There were Russian villages and things that would claim to trade with groups of Sasquatch or big hairy giants or whatever, and they'd see them. I think there was even footage of, sort of 40 or 50 of them trailing along the top of a mountain track or whatever. And like you said, they captured one, and they kept her as a sort of plaything in the village for quite a while. And I think some of the blokes had their way with them.
Yeah, that was a pretty popular story about, it was a female, and she lived in a Russian village, and she did have children. But yeah, that's it's a weird story.
It is, as many of them are. But I thought the database inclusion of the genome mapping was something pretty legitimate, and something that hasn't yet been stolen by the Smithsonian.
Maybe you could email Aaron Raw and just check with him.
Oh, Lord. No, thank you.
But there was the point in that classification that was the point we were chatting about in the week, that if it has been classified, then surely that has therefore validity and takes it out of the realms of conspiracy or conjecture. If there's been a classification, I didn't.
Takes it away from the realms of Belu.
Well, and
Apologies, Belu.
there's another man by the name of Dr. Jeff Meldrum who did a study on Bigfoot, and his was all on the actual footprints. And he collected as many samples of footprints that he could, and impressions of whatever other impressions they could find of him. Sometimes they can find like full body impressions or partial body impressions or handprints and stuff. Anyway, he he collected all of the footprints from them that he could find, and then when he applied them to a graph, they followed a curve of growth which matched every other mammal that is known in existence. Like there was young ones, like every age. So they were able to find enough different size footprints to show that they actually, they have a growth pattern, commensurate with what you find in other mammals.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And what's a foot specialist called? Chiropodist?
Podiatrist.
I don't know that that's necessarily what he does, but that's the evidence that he was looking at when he was studying them, because that's the most common thing found. I mean, I've found footprints. I've found a couple of footprints on my property.
Really? Where are you?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Bloody hell. Is it like, are you near forest?
Well, yeah, I live in the woods. My house is surrounded by hardwoods.
Nice. Wow, is that freaky every now and again?
It can be. I mean, it's the funny thing is like I grew up in California, right near in Northern California, which is where like the name Bigfoot started, and that's where the Patterson-Gimlin film was recorded, and there's like all those Bigfoot museums over there and stuff, right? And I used to go camping in the Tahoe National Forest, and I never heard one, I never saw one, I never had any encounter. And I didn't even really think they were real. I was always kind of fascinated with it just because in that part of the country, it's talked about a lot, supposedly a lot of sightings over there with it being the Pacific Northwest and all that stuff. But I never had any experience. And at one time I had a couple of friends that they went camping and they came back and they were like swearing up and down that there was a Bigfoot at their camp, and they heard, and I was like, you guys smoke too much weed. Like, no, right? I didn't believe it. Until and then I moved to North Carolina, and I'm telling you, man, the first year that I was here, I had an encounter, and they just kept happening, like more and more and more. So much, and I've had so many encounters at this point that when I sit down with somebody and I have a conversation, I forget to tell them stuff because so much stuff has happened. I'll be like, oh yeah, and then there was this other time that blah 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 happened. Like that's how active it is here.
And do your neighbors concur, or have you spoken to them about it?
Only one of them. And she was like, no, I don't think so. They were not really into it. But then I had this one neighbor, when we had bought the property that I live on now, before we had a house here, and I would tell her that I would, walk on the property. I would take my dog for a walk on the property. She'd be like, we used to camp over there way back when we'd go across the street and go camping by the creek. She's like, you really shouldn't go in those woods without a sidearm.
Just what you want to hear.
Yeah.
You got a big dog?
Yeah, I have a pit.
Nice.
A pit bull. He's a big boy. He's like 80 pounds. But I walk in the woods all the time by myself, with the dog, without the dog. I don't ever bring a sidearm or a weapon, and I've never had any problem.
Well, have you heard? I mean, it goes deep, obviously, but these things are claimed to be telepathic or on some sort of higher sense. And it would probably be a really bad idea to bring a firearm with you, because that brings intent and hostility and I don't know.
Honestly, I don't think a firearm would do you any good against
That
one.
too.
I think it's pointless to even try it. I don't think you can just they're very
Resilient.
well, the thing about them is they're physical beings, but they're not like us. They're way more advanced. Like, people try to talk about, oh, they're, some leftover relic, primate like Gigantopithecus or whatever, but no, that's not what they are. And in fact, I typically, when I talk about them, I don't refer to them as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I like to say forest people, because they're a people. They have a language. They have a family structure. They have intelligent thought. They're, sentient. It's like, I think it's really, you're really not giving them the credit when you say that when somebody says that they're a gorilla or like a North American ape, because that's not at all what they are.
Or the weaponized Bigfoot. The word
Right.
Bigfoot now is synonymous with, you're just an idiot. Or that, didn't they have a Bigfoot on that program? Man
Harry
on
and the
Moon.
Hendersons.
No, was it? It's the intro to
Shout out
Jaren's
to
thing.
Kevin Peter Hall.
Yeah. Oh, one time I went to Universal Studios, and that guy was walking around in the Harry and the Hendersons
Oh,
costume.
that's what's up. Oh, that would have been amazing.
And Paul's in the chat calling me a shill.
That's why we have her here, man. We're trying to pull it out of her.
Anyways, that guy, because they ask you for volunteers to, participate in whatever they're doing, whatever demonstration they're doing about special effects in Universal Studios, and I got picked. And so I went backstage and I was sitting back there, and here comes Bigfoot walking around the corner, and he starts picking through my hair. And I looked up at him and it freaked me out. Do you know how real that thing looks, that suit? I mean, I could not believe it.
He's a huge guy that's in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure it was mind blowing.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
Well, up north in Shreveport, Keithville area up there where I spent my teenage years, they're known to be there, and people see them all the time, hunters, and they just kind of accept it as part of the area. And one time somebody on my uncle's area there where they lived hit one and messed the car up, as bad as like hitting a cow or something else. They tracked it through the woods, trying to see if it was hurt or whatever for days, literally, and they never found it, body hurt, any of that. So
yeah, because
very
they didn't
resilient.
hurt it.
Right.
They didn't hurt it.
They didn't even phase it.
All right. Yeah, but there's this Facebook group, and they have a YouTube channel by the same name that's called Team Squatchin' USA. And this group is run by a guy named Dr. Matthew Johnson, and he is a real doctor, not like a medical doctor, but he's a doctor of psychology, a practicing psychologist. He has his own practice, and he runs this group, and they are the best group if you want to really know what the forest people are all about, and everything that they do, everything that people witness, like unfiltered, uncensored, because they talk about everything. They talk about stuff that the BFRO won't talk about. Like, the BFRO stance is that they're a relic ape, right? That's what they think. They think that Bigfoot is a big North American ape, and that it's not as intelligent as people. That's their stance on it, which is completely wrong. But the Team Squatchin' USA group, they don't censor anything. They talk about everything. There's people there that communicate with them on a regular basis. spoken communication and telepathic communication. They've seen them go through portals, uh, appear and disappear. Like basically, like they can sort of slip in and out of this dimension on demand. They call it the woo. Like there's a whole bunch of paranormal stuff that goes along with Sasquatch and the forest people that most people don't talk about. Like everything you see on the History Channel or the Science Channel or Animal Planet is completely wrong. That's all lies. Like making them look like they're aggressive and that or like that they're going to kidnap people or they hurt. That's all of it's wrong. It's like I feel like all that stuff is made to just make people afraid of them, because if it's one of those things where it's like if people weren't afraid of them and didn't have that sort of ingrained in them, maybe they might be more open to communicating with them, and they would probably start learning stuff from them that quote unquote they don't want us to know. You know what I mean? It's like you're talking about an intelligent species of being that is living alongside us here on this plane. They've been here either as long as us or longer, and they don't have, they're not living under the same system that we are. They don't have anybody pumping poison into their bodies. They don't have anybody indoctrinating them with a bunch of lies. They live free. They live in, perfect harmony with everything and everyone on this earth. They are able to live their whole lives basically developing the abilities that they were born with and use them. So, and they're very similar to us. Like I believe that we have some of the abilities that they have. Like I'm not saying like we can slip in and out of dimensions on demand. Maybe we could, maybe we can't. I don't know yet. But I feel like if we were able to sort of have an open line of communication with them, there's a lot of things that we would learn about ourselves that would just blow the doors off of everything. That's my opinion. Anyway.
And they must hate humans, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's no wonder that they would avoid us like the bloody plague. And if they had more land to go to, they would. But they must hate us.
John, don't you think? I've listened there, Karen, and the opinion that mainstream science, as we see there, is they're portrayed as some form of lesser hominid, at best an offshoot. That's but as you're saying there, John, the reality is, and maybe the reason for their isolation or lack of contact with us, maybe not isolation, is they probably look at us as lesser beings.
Yeah.
I think most species on Earth probably look at us as lesser beings, really.
Yeah, dolphins are smug. I know that for a fact.
Those whales too. You gotta watch those whales.
I have a theory too about the forest people and that Patterson Gimlin film. Like, okay, so that to this day is the best recorded video that anybody has ever gotten of a Bigfoot, right?
Can you just remind us of that? Is that the one across the stream, or is that the one where it's got a baby? Have you seen the one where it's got a baby in its hands and it's...
Yes.
You think it's bull?
No, I don't know. I think there's other legitimate video of them, but the one that I'm referring to is the one that was taken in the late 60s by the two guys who went into the woods on horseback, and they recorded it with a Super 8.
That's the haunting one, isn't it? That's the one that messes with your head as a kid.
The one where they recorded her for well over a minute walking across the valley and then up into the woods.
Yeah.
Like that's the best one, right? After that, it was like everybody was going into the woods to try to hunt them and find them. And I think that once that happened, they were like, oh shit, they're after us. And then they stopped letting themselves be recorded. They stopped, they hid themselves more because we were hunting them. So I think that's what happened. In my opinion, it seems to be that way. Because what happens, if people go in the woods with guns and they're going after you, they just, and from what I've heard from the researchers in Team Squatch in USA, like they talk about how once you communicate with a member of any clan, right? Any clan, any forest person, anywhere, once they know about you or that one knows about you, well, then they all know about you. They all know that you are friendly to them. It's like they have a sort of collective consciousness that they're able to access. So once you communicate with one somewhere, you can go anywhere and communicate with another clan easily.
Sort of 100 monkey syndrome sort of thing.
Right. Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of, but not 100. One monkey. Sorry.
Except monkeys have
not
two.
even a monkey. Yeah, no, that's yeah. I'll shut up now, shall I? So,
well, one of my bucket lists is to meet and make friends with an animal that's bigger than me. I'm sorry, I think I would probably shit my pants if I saw Bigfoot, like
yeah,
up close.
And they realize that too.
Me, I don't know.
Yeah, they realize that their appearance is very intimidating.
I like to think that I'd be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'll be in my woods and I'll feel like maybe there might be one or some around, and I'm like, "Oh man, is today gonna be the day I see one?" Because I haven't actually like had a Class A sighting where I'm like, "Yep, that was a Bigfoot," but I did have a couple of instances where I might have seen one where I went out and outside in my backyard and I saw a figure walking into the woods, and the first thing in my mind was like, is somebody trespassing? Because I live on 20 acres and I live right in the center of those 20 acres, right? So if I can see you from my house, you are trespassing. So I saw someone walk in the woods and I thought, there's a person. First thing I thought, that's a person walking in the woods. And I was like, hello. And I was like calling out to them. And I walked back there and they disappeared. Whatever it was disappeared very quickly into the woods. I didn't see it. I stood there for a few minutes calling out and I just stood there looking into the woods for a minute. And the next thing I know, I heard this crazy sound, this crazy, like howling, yowling, screaming sound. And I was like, what in the F was that? Right. And then the next thing I know, I hear something pounding, running on the hillside, not directly towards me, but running out towards the power line. And I could barely see the top of it, like the top of whatever it was running because it was down the hill and it was dark. I couldn't decipher what it was, but whatever it was a dark color because it was still daytime when this happened. And that is probably the closest. I'm pretty sure that was one. Like I can't explain it by any other animal. It just does. Nothing else makes sense because there's no bears here. There's no, there's white-tailed deer, but I see them all the time and they don't sound like that. They don't howl like that. They're very light on their feet. I mean, this thing was pounding the ground, running out towards the power line. It was crazy.
That sounds pretty mad, man.
Yeah, that's intense. Intense.
Yeah. And I've also had one another time. Actually, most of the things that happen during the day. That's another thing that is BS, like as far as like finding Bigfoot shows go. They're always going out at night, making a bunch of noise, acting like a bunch of idiots. That's why they never find. First of all, you don't find Bigfoot. Bigfoot finds you, first of all. Second of all, everything that I've ever encountered most of the time has been in the day. Like 90% of everything that's happened to me has been during the day. And third, if you go into the woods acting like a big idiot, is anything going to want to come around and be around you? No, probably not. But I was in my yard and it was in the summertime and it was a very still day. It was a hot day, no wind, perfectly still. It was later in the afternoon, probably around 5:00, and I was watering my grass. And I was there with my daughter. And at the time she was 3 years old, a young 3 years old too. And she grabs onto my leg like death grip. And she's like, Mommy, there's a Bigfoot over there. Don't let it get me. And I was like, what? And I looked up and started looking around, and I didn't see anything. I was like, oh, that's weird. And I just, tried to console her. I was like, oh, don't worry about it, honey. Mommy's here. I won't let anything happen to you. It's fine. And she was like, and she wouldn't let go of me. So I just kept watering the grass. Next thing I know, I'm standing there, and there's this tree about 100 feet from where I was standing. And this one tree on a perfectly still day starts violently shaking, like shaking so bad. And it's a tall tree too. It's probably about a 40, 50-foot tree, shaking. And so bad that I could hear it cracking. It was like crack, 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 like somebody was chicken choking it. And I was like, what is that? Why is that tree moving like that? Like, I was like, what is that? What is going on? And then it clicked. I was like, my daughter about a minute ago just told me she saw a Bigfoot, and now it's over there shaking a tree.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, okay, yeah, 100%. They're here. They're real, and they're here, and they're in my woods.
These little things you can't deny, can you?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how crazy it sounds. It's like,
yeah.
It happened.
Yeah. People give me a lot of crap about talking about Bigfoot, and I can't I don't know what to say. It's like, I'm just telling people my experiences. Like, this is what happened. You can believe it or you can not believe it. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it to try to prove anything to anybody. I'm just talking about what's happened to me. And actually, a lot of people have come to me in the flat earth community who are being like, yeah, I've had those experiences too. So, but they don't want to talk about it, because I know when I first got into flat earth, and I was like, I bet I can talk, I thought I could talk about anything, because they're like, dude, the earth's flat. All these people think the earth is flat. I'm sure anything's open for discussion, right? So I started talking about Bigfoot. I got shut down so quick. It's not even funny. They were like, you make flat earth look stupid.
You're making flat earth look bad. I love that excuse. That's hilarious. Don't say anymore. You're making us look stupid. It's like,
right.
How stupid can you look? You're ingrained brainwashing since birth that the most idiotic people on the planet are flat earthers. So yeah.
It's less daft than presenting a model.
That's just classic.
There's more evidence for Bigfoot than there is for the globe. That's all I got to say about that.
It's a Bigfoot psyop used to distract from the
Well
flash.
said.
Well, I've learned a bit there tonight. Thanks.
Coming to see you, Josh.
That was cool.
That's not my dog.
Was that your dog, Karen? They may be coming to visit. They heard you talking.
Hey, you take a camera
So
if you go look to see what it is.
On. Can I come in?
Let's all get our dogs barking. See who's got the best bark.
Oh God, mine are annoying as hell.
Well, mine's a barking herd dog, so he herds by barking, which can be quite annoying.
I'd either have to fake it, John, or go and wake the chickens. Right.
Oh, mate, you got to get a dog.
Anyway, I can't give the love a dog needs, mate. So I'm not prepared to get a dog. When I'm finished slave driving myself, do you know what I mean? Then I'd love.
Then I'm going to get 10. I'm going to get 10. I'm going to start a doggery.
Doggery.
Actually, that's probably the wrong word. That's probably
Take
what you do
to a doggery
on the A3, the petrol station. But no, I don't know, boarding home or something. Nah, it can't be a boarding home, a foster home. Yeah, because I couldn't have them every 2 weeks and then give them back again. That would be no good. But anyway, listen, on that, guys, we've now done an hour of puffing, and I think all the ballers are probably buggered off. I think we could probably take a break and come back with a little bit of flat earth.
Breaks. Glad you mentioned breaks.
You might want to kill the feed as well.
Well, it's a little early for a break. We usually do a break at an hour and a half. We plan for 3 hours. Usually we try to do it at an hour and a half.
I know, but I figured we'd exhausted the non-flat earth stuff. I don't know. It's up to you. You've got your time.
Coming with you, yeah. I thank you for your reminder, but don't go throwing the boat, mate. I've got. You can't edit mid plan. But yeah, go on then. But give me a second.
So some non-flat Earth stuff I happen to have in with my space lettuce.
Go for it.
Oh,
there you go. Just to save the day.
Are you talking
mean,
space
really?
lettuce?
Is there such a thing as non-flat Earth stuff?
So
yeah, NASA, the ball, planets, black holes.
There's nothing wrong with fantasy. People have got to escape. Suppose.
I can't. That stuff just pisses me off anymore. The video with Sandra Bullock and stuff like that, Matt Damon, I won't watch it. I refuse. I know it's fantasy, but so many people don't know it's fantasy, and that's what makes me mad about it. Is it's propaganda that, oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop now. My little rant there.
Oh,
It's
there's
the flat
another
Earth
flashback.
unicorn, a Zach rant.
I got another flashback to the week there, Walt, at my busy week. I met up with West Coast Wisdom this week. She came down
Awesome.
from Scotland to see her baby grandchild. So congratulations to her. I lost my train of thought there. But we were rambling about losing and forgetting things. And she was a big into like somebody pop culture wise. And I was kind of saying, obviously, Star Wars was a big thing for me, losing that kind of having to say goodbye to those things. And I don't know, I don't really have a problem. I'll still happily pretend I'm on a fantasy land because it is fantasy. I don't have a problem with fantasy. I have a problem with government and systems portraying fantasy as reality. That's where I have a beef. And yeah, it's a mini rant over. Sorry, guys.
Hashtag Adam rant.
Well, it was a mini. Well, it wasn't full on, was it? It was just, I still love my Star Wars, mate. Honestly, and it's like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with escaping and forgetting? You don't have to.
I know, but I wanted to be Luke Skywalker, and now I can't.
I actually think there's a lot
off.
of truth. There's a lot of truth in Star Wars, though.
Mm.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
the Force
not
and
the
stuff
ball
like
stuff.
that, and yeah.
Not
No,
the
I
outer
believe
space stuff.
You speak wisely, young Padawan.
Right, you are.
Yes,
But as far as like the Force, the quote unquote Force, or
oh yeah,
your inner power and that sort of thing, I think there is truth to that, that's kind of what I was talking about a little bit at my talk at the conference. That's kind of where I was going with that.
There's a whole esoteric breakdown of the trilogy. I mean, there's right down to the little green Martian-looking guy named Yoda.
Look into some Joseph Campbell for sure, and it'll show you all that stuff.
There's a lot of spirituality in it, guys. I mean, pre-flat Earth and even pre any kind of common law stuff. I remember the census, John. Do you remember this, John? Remember there was must have been like 96 or something like that, maybe 2006. So, I don't know where the census are, but there was this big thing in the press because there was a big build-up of being asked to state your religion for the census, and Jedi was quite a.
And that was the last time I filled out the census. That was in London. That must have been 90s, late 90s, and maybe even the early 2000s. I left London in 2003, I think. And I put Jedi down as my religion.
Yeah,
and it came up, and it became a recognised religion because it went over a certain amount.
Yeah, genuinely, and the reason I did it because actually I'd given up on religion as a teenager, etc. I didn't, and as a young man, you're kind of lost. And actually, there was a lot of spiritual teaching about how to treat people and how to be. And there's I won't go any deeper, you know what I mean, but in terms of Jedi stuff. But actually, in terms of in a shitted up world where the mainstream is decrying any form of spirituality, it was one of the few bits in the mainstream that there was something for people to actually latch onto, and probably what it was, but still enjoy it.
Well, I still believe in the Force. It's just how you define it, isn't it?
It's just that metachlorian bollocks, mate. I'm not having none of that.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about there, but I mean, looking at Rice and things, and being nice to Rice and shouting at Rice shows there is some sort of effect, cause and effect there. Yeah, forces. I don't know. I mean, I've never used to be into this sort of thing, but positive energy and that sort of thing. If you're driving to a car park that's usually full, and you just envisage seeing an empty parking space in there, or and you turn up and there it is, and you just drive in and drive straight in. Or I'd be driving along a country road, and a tractor will pull out in front of you, and you're in a rush, and you just envisage him pulling off into the next field, and he does, and you drive on, you're like, you know, and the wife looks at you and says, well, that was lucky, wasn't it? And you're just sitting there thinking, well, was it or wasn't it? I don't know. But yeah, I'm a firm believer that there's way more out there that we affect and we can affect than we've ever been led to believe, that's for sure.
I concur, absolutely. And I do my best to keep it on a positive thought process, as hard as it is sometimes in this world, but it definitely seems you attract what you focus on.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. We do have the ability to manifest our reality to an extent.
Just everybody's trying to manifest their own, and it kind of starts clashing at times. If we could all get on the same page, it'd be amazing.
Yes. Yes, that would be collective intent. And I was talking about that at the conference, because a lot of people who wake up to flat Earth, it's like they don't feel confident enough to talk about it publicly. They don't think that they can speak on it maybe eloquently enough, or they are afraid of being ridiculed. But my point is that even if you don't feel like you can speak about it publicly, if you do it energetically, you're still putting that information out into the ether, right? Because that's what I was calling the ether net. It's like that's what everything is swimming in. That's what everything is propagating through something called the ether that we live in, right? And we all have electromagnetic fields that are generated by our heart, and it's basically like our antenna. It's how we intuitively give and receive information, is through our magnetic field. And so if you put that information out into the ether, because other people, whether they're aware of it or not, subconsciously, they are absorbing the information from the ether through their electromagnetic field. It's always happening subconsciously. So you can still, put that energy out there, and other people are going to pick it up subconsciously, whether they know it or not. And it sort of is like a snowball effect, which I think is what's been happening, why people are waking up so fast now. That's just my theory on it.
And isn't it strange that or coincidental that they happen to call all the cables that connect us all together Ethernet cable? But I'd never thought about using the energy thing in a negative way, because to me, I always thought if I think negatively, then negative things are going to come back on me. So when I sort of got a grasp of all of this, it changed my outlook because I used to be an incredibly negative person. I say used to be, the guys will laugh. I could be. I was a nasty piece of crap. You know, you'd look at someone, you fat knacker, you liar, big.
That was indigestion, not sarcasm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, you know, I used to think all these horrible thoughts about people around me. And I know people are still doing it today. Even when they've woken up, they despise people around them because they're not awake, and they just see them as, you know, retarded, fat, lazy wannabes or wastes of space. But what I found was that I changed my outlook so that I would try and exude or portray some sort of pity or love for these people, you know, insofar as they've all been brainwashed. They've all been, they're all toxic with the environment, with the media, with everything around them. And they need to, they don't deserve your bile. They deserve pity and empathy. And ever since I've done that, and I'm still counting the days and giving out gratitude again in my head, being grateful for what it is I've got and what happens to me. And I have to admit, nothing bad has happened to me since I started doing that. So in terms of test it, then, you know, I'm not going to go against it. It's working for me.
Yeah. I do the same thing.
I think it's powerful stuff.
I think
it's
way
more powerful than we
irrespective of karma type effects. I think the key to being happy in yourself is getting rid of that animosity, that any aggression you have to people that you do have. Even ballers, man, you know, there's no point being angry at them and having it's a matter really of wishing better for them is what I kind of view it more, John. Pity's not a word I'd use. I just hope for more.
Well, it's giving benefit of the doubt and giving them the chance that you weren't given either. You know, no one came up to you and said, look, let me sit you down for 4 hours and explain why you don't live on a spinning ball. This is what I've always done on Twitter, or try to, at least, if you can't spot a troll from a mile away, but is to give people the benefit of the doubt, even trolls sometimes, and give them the time to explain what it is. I mean, pretty quickly they turn into assholes and you end up blocking them anyway, but it's giving them the benefit of the doubt and not just blanket generalizing that anyone who doesn't agree that the Earth's flat is a retard or a baller mong or something.
So you've said all about, but it's about love to me, that is, right? So then I've got one serious question. That's to Josh, which is his headline then. If things about his love, and that's important, then why is there a desire to crush cute things? That's a great link, John.
I saw that. It made me laugh. I've always been a fan of John Steinbeck. So when I saw that, I just thought immediately of Mice and Men. So,
you see the rabbits over there, Josh?
Just the headline itself is pretty good. The desire to crush cute things is natural. It may even be useful.
Yeah, where's that from?
This is from inverse.com.
Nice. Crushing cute things. Okay.
Written by a woman named Sarah Sloat. Sometimes merely acknowledging the cuteness of a duckling, a cub, or even a human child isn't good enough. Sometimes cuteness is so arresting that the only logical reaction is an intense urge to squeeze the little deer to smithereens. In a study published Wednesday in Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience, scientists announced that this desire isn't just a playful wish, it's actually an appetite that can be traced within the brain.
Yeah, if you're one.
While researchers have previously studied the cute aggression phenomenon, this paper is the first to confirm a neural basis for it. A team from the University of California, Riverside, discovered that there is a detectable activity in the neural reward system in the brains of people who readily admit they feel overwhelmed by seeing a cute animal or baby. Cuteness also triggers these people into feeling an immense desire to take care of the cutie and to think about taking a playful bite out of it.
Are these commonly known as politicians or something? I must take care of you. I must love you. I must have you. What is it? That's that
I will
sound.
stroke him and I will call him George.
That's the one. I will love you and I love you. I'll squeeze you till your eyes pop out.
Lead author Catherine Stavropoulos, PhD, is a specialist in the brain's reward system. After reading about cute aggression in 2015, she knew that she would eventually study its neural underpinnings once she ran a lab of her own. This study is a manifestation of that goal. Honestly, I was surprised and excited about all of the results, Stavropoulos tells in verse. That's the fun and scary part about doing a study where you're the first person to study something. We are the first group to ever study the neuroscience of cute aggression. So there's no literature or research to help us predict results or put results into context. Stavropoulos says that the most fascinating thing that she and study co-author Laura Alba, a PhD student, learned is that cute aggression appears to involve both the reward and emotion systems, rather than just one or the other. In the study, 54 participants between the ages of 18 years old and 40 were asked to look at photographs divided into categories while their brain activity was measured with electrode-fitted caps. They were shown pictures of babies and animals with some of the baby images manipulated to appear extra cute. This means larger eyes and larger heads. They look like aliens. The pictures of non-human animals were a mix of adults and babies. Between seeing the cute and extra cute images, the participants were surveyed on how they felt about the pictures they saw and how much cute aggression they were experiencing. Based on a scale of cute aggression dimorphous emotions developed by Yale researchers in 2015, these are the emotions a person feels when extremely positive experience actually creates a reaction that's typically paired with a negative emotion, like wanting to eat the toes of a friend's newborn baby. For example, how do you feel about watching these polar bear cubs? If you want to eat them up, but you also never really act upon that desire, you might be feeling cute aggression. Overall, study participants reported feeling cute aggression more towards baby animals than human adults, or adult animals, sorry, and more towards human babies that were digitally enhanced to appear even more infantile. When these people were experiencing cute aggression, that experience showed up in the brain. Specifically, this is true for the people who reported feeling overwhelmed by cuteness. People who are less overwhelmed by cute pictures showed weaker relationships between cuteness appraisal and cute aggression. When people were asked if they ever had said, "It's so cute, I want to squeeze it," about 64% said yes. And when asked if they had ever actually squeezed a cute animal, about 74% said yes. Holy Jesus.
Oh, good grief. This sounds like bollocks to me. This sounds like a bunch of assholes trying to justify their sick, sadistic
That's what I was
pastime.
just thinking, John. That's what this sounds like. More of that trying to normalize this psychotic behavior that we constantly see unveiled.
Yep. That's how I see it.
It smells to me of total pseudoscience where they take a bullshit, non-relevant hypothesis and then back it up with the findings of the study that doesn't really relate. There's the standard preconception here that, and I'll take it, it's like when you've got your baby, hasn't you? You want to go, ooh. You don't want to eat the baby. You don't want to do any harm. This seems to be the misconception in the whole thing. There's, God forbid that they would discuss the psychological concepts and benefits of an overwhelming feeling of love, no matter what the source is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, what is the source on this? Do they link? I mean, there's an easy way to check on these bullshit articles. Do they link to a study?
Well, it was done at the University of California, Riverside, so I'm sure.
Yeah. Do they link to it though?
I
Here's the
see some
previous
clickable
study.
stuff.
I
Yeah,
mean,
the
lots
previous
of
one.
hyperlinks in this story. I'm not about to go down this silly inverse rabbit hole. It's going to hyperlink me to 14 other inverse blog posts over the last 10 years.
Well, a lot of times those hyperlinks are internal hyperlinks to their own website,
their own
and they're
crap,
just
right.
words. Yeah, they're just like keyword searches or something, and they're bollocks. But
The older
I mean,
blog posts over the last 10 years. Yeah, that's why I don't
If it-
want to go down that.
it says at the end, you know, the study was taken from here, or there's the study that you can read it for yourself, or if it hasn't got anything like that, and this doesn't look as though it has, then yeah, absolute lettuce of the space variety.
Well, I've looked at all them pictures and I don't feel hungry. Guys.
Hot dog. What do you think, Karen?
I just want to eat them up. I want to eat them.
Got any mustard?
That's quite a cute baby you have. Nom, nom, nom.
Well, if you tune into Zach's YouTube channel recently, you can learn how to build a spit roast for the small things
Like puppies.
like puppies, babies you
also
want
can
to
learn
eat,
how to relax.
hamsters you want to see their eyes pop out their head. And I must admit, I remember doing that when I was 5, maybe, that I squeezed my hamster so hard. Well, not so hard, but hard enough that it looked like, you know, eyes popping out. It looked like Neil deGrasse Tyson quite often, actually. But that's as far as I took it, obviously, because I thought, oh, that probably hurts.
Because you're human.
So I tried it on my sister instead and confirmed that, yes, it did hurt. So anyway.
So just to round out, I don't think this would technically be considered a flat Earth article. Scientists, physicists confirm that we are not living in a computer simulation. So do we really even need to go any further? No, I think that's
How
Says
did
it
they
all.
do that?
self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Oh, now you want to get into nuts and bolts. Oh, shit.
I want to see the scientific experiment that proves that we're not in a simulation.
Sit down,
What's
here
the
it
independent
comes.
and dependent variable?
Have I not noticed this week, Karen, actually, that there's been a kind of evolution in flat Earth, and we've stopped independent and dependent variable. I think it's gone to IV, DV.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
noticed
IDV.
IV, DV.
Getting our own nomenclature going so we
Yeah.
can baffle the bafflers. Nice. Some
Well, see-
acronyms. Can't beat a few acronyms.
Did you see Nathan's today? Sorry to digress, but there was. I tell you what, there's a guy come in claiming he's a PhD or a master's student or something in physics, and he got his arse handed to him, without even getting warmed up. Really, the guys, and even to the point that, and I don't say this disrespectfully, and this, but Anthony was just absolutely stripping him. You know what I mean? And previously, you've seen Nathan dissect people. But I think the skills are getting up to the level now as we are, you know, with IVD, the familiarity and the understanding of what is science is spreading. And shout out to Nathan for that, because I think it's noticeable, people's comprehension of.
But Adam, was he torn apart because he wasn't a PhD or whatever, or was he torn apart because he was and he just was clueless? Or
Yeah, he was torn apart because he was clueless. I actually heard that this morning, and I was really laughing.
well, that brings me fantastically
Oh,
on to something.
Give me
Oh,
1 second, John. Give me one
God,
second.
how to ruin the best link ever.
This
Go
is
on.
my link. You stole it, you bugger. I was chatting quickly this week with Quantum, and he was reviewing Flat Earth Civil Discourse's chat with the Flat Earth Math with Slick James Johnson, and they're talking in there, and I do say, look, I gave up, but he's basically saying, it's completely unforgivable. The ballers are now trying to say that you can have double blind, single blind experiments in physics and chemistry. And I'll just use the line I said in, well, you don't want those molecules acting in a biased way. And this is the kind of, I don't know whether it's an attempt at bamboozlery or what. Okay, but this is the kind of attempts that they're sinking to now, or is it a complete lack of understanding on their part? But yeah, sorry, over to you, John. Segue.
And you murdered my link with that load of waffle. What the hell was that about?
I don't know, but it would have been better.
Anyway,
Been
Karen,
yours would better be good.
You had a pretty decent roundtable debate with is he a quantum scientist? Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
Just
the
say
quantum physicist. Yes.
And what was your takeaway from that?
That it's like talking to a brick wall.
Well, this is what I was trying to say. I mean, did you? Because I saw someone raising it in the comments that they didn't know, they couldn't trace who the guy was, whether his credentials held up. But apparently he's like a consultant to, I want to say Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
and he's what was his full title? You remember?
I don't remember his full title, but I know that well, he says he's a quantum physicist, and then he's a physics consultant to Marvel Studios for the superhero movies.
That's right. And you had like a 2-hour hangout with him, you and about 8 other flat earthers, and he'd already spent time around flat earthers, and basically he does what most, I would say most, because I've met quite a few credentialed people, is that they listen and they nod and they sympathetically smile and they try and throw in some positives, but when you really scratch the surface, they haven't moved an iota on their core beliefs that they're on a spinning ball, and you are. The reason they're smiling and nodding at you empathetically is because they know that you're a retard, and
yes.
it just goes without saying, this person is clearly a retard, but I just want to study why they're a retard or how they become a retard, or it's just such patronizing shite that I just can't be bothered to talk to these people. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah. Well, he was actually really nice. I mean, he I mean, I will give him that. Point. Like he was nice, but he even said, he was like, "No, I don't think you guys are stupid. I think you guys are really smart and you ask really good questions." And he even asked me. He was like, "What do you do?" He's like, "You sound like a scientist to me."
Yeah, I saw that. It was like, what are your credentials? I just went, what are your credentials? Well, I'm a human being. I can read. I can write. I can, I'm didactic. It doesn't take little bits of paper and a mortiseboard to be able to figure out what is clearly and observably around us. But I think, well, obviously the comments were harsher than you'd ever be. He seemed like a really nice guy, and he obviously gave over his time, but so he bloody should. He's got 9 flat Earth informed people around him trying to show him the error of his ways, and I just got the sort of feeling it was a backhand at the end of it of you're not mad, you're not, I think you're all really fascinating and really interesting and so intelligent, but you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, every time we asked him a question, he would start his answer with, imagine this. Or the beautiful thing about this is that. It's like, oh, come on, how many?
So scientific, isn't it? Yeah, for a
Yeah,
quantum
yeah.
scientist.
And I didn't even post. We did another hangout after that one, and I haven't posted it yet, because at the end of it, I was like, "There's no way I'm posting this whole hangout on my channel because it was excruciating. It was really excruciating." And um, but basically, in the last hangout that we did that I haven't posted yet, I need to go back and edit it and put it up. But he basically admitted that the globe is a belief system.
Right, right, and that shows intelligence because even, I mean, the most intelligent people can get that far, and they can say, I understand it is a belief. I am using faith and I'm trusting in other people. But you have to trust, you have to have some faith, and you have to believe. So, no, you don't. You don't have to have any of those things because that's called religion. But the fact that he could actually admit that it was a belief, it shows that he is an intelligent person because the people who can't admit that, when you show it to them on a plate, then they can't deny, and they still come back and say, it's not a belief, it's a fact, you retard. There's just no point in talking to those sort of people.
Right.
Well, that brings me to this Nova article over on pbs.org. If that doesn't tell you anything, which is basically state-sponsored media here in the States. The first sentence is as far as we really need to go. Sentence number 1. Scientists have discovered that it is impossible to model the physics of our universe on even the biggest computer.
Oh my gosh, that's how they know we're not living in a computer simulation?
That's it.
That's hilarious.
Let alone modeling it on Earth. No, in a computer system.
You see, Karen, you asked for science, and there it is, straight away. Smacking you in the face like a wet fish. Logic is with it as well. Beautiful.
I'm sure there's a fallacy for that.
I'm sure there's like 6 fallacies in there.
But on that note, it's an hour and a half, by the way.
It is, yeah. I did not plan on going any further. I'm sure they have science and stuff going on in there. They give the name of these guys at the University of Oxford and the Hebrew University in Israel. They applied the Monte Carlo simulations, computations used to generate probabilities to quantum objects moving through various dimensions, and found that classical systems cannot create the mathematics necessary to describe quantum systems.
Try predicting the weather first, you retards. Sorry, I was full of ad hominem tonight.
You don't even have to go past the first sentence, though.
Nope, you don't.
It's impossible to model the physics of our universe on even the biggest computer. That says it all right there.
The biggest computer couldn't even model one human brain.
That's why I think AI is not the AI is not going to take over too.
Well,
like everybody gets freaked out about AI, but I don't think that would ever happen.
That's an
to the extent that
interesting
people think about, because you cannot create consciousness. You can't program consciousness into any computer.
No, but I think you can program consciousness out of humanity. And that's where I think AI is going. AI is thick as shit. But if you go to the refund counter at your local mall and say, I need to bring this back, and they type it in the machine and go, no, you can't. Why can't I? Because the computer won't let me. Or you ring the insurance company and say, I don't have that on my door. I have this on my door. I can't add that. It's not on the computer. That's where AI is taking us over with its retardedness. That's the word of the night, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
And people actually giving up to that and saying, this, oh, right, so the computer, oh, okay, then I can't do that. That's we're being told what to do by retards, which are posing as AI when they're not intelligent at all, because they were obviously programmed by man or you know, even if they're self-learning, they're told how to learn via man. So that's how I think the AI is going to take over us.
A good practical example of that, John, is in my daily work, is the new, here in the UK, the new 111 system. So it takes totally untrained people who are, well, they've been trained in working a phone, and they listen to people on the phone and taking their symptoms and then direct to the most relevant point of service. It is a great example of how AI is useful, or it doesn't exist. AI is only as good as the person that wrote the routes for it to go, and
Exactly.
there is no such thing, as far as I'm aware, as AI. It's purported, it's touted in sci-fi, but the reality is, and it's something that they go to great lengths, as far as you can see, if you to hide how crap it is.
Well, they make movies about it, don't they?
Yeah,
to tell us how good it is.
The propaganda, yeah, exactly. As to
but
what
in
it
reality,
is.
it is just it's just following a script that's been written by man. But yeah, there's lots of examples of where it fails or. I had a good one, but you knocked it out of me.
Well, if we're talking about a reality, we had a little bit. Josh, are we able to maybe play out, because we're 8 minutes late, John? We're 8 minutes late. Are we going to go with the whale? What is that?
Whale?
No, I got the whale.
You speak whale?
John, well, there was one little bit of news then before we go, wasn't there? That would be, you were mentioned that something was observed from space. Week.
And now who's changing the script? Bunging crap on me that wasn't in the Wednesday pre-show.
You brought it up tonight, and I thought it was brilliant. We all kind of resonated with it and remembered it, but.
Well, we're way overdue. So, Karen, can you give us your details of where people can find you, and then we can get the hell out of here and start the proper program?
Is that a no then, Savage?
That's a no.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about that amazing new video you put up on your channel, Karen, for sure.
We are.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
where can we find you, Karen?
You can find me at my YouTube channel, which is Karen B. I also am admin for a Discord server that it's the biggest Flat Earth Discord server. It's got 10,000 plus members. It's the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord server. And that's a good place to go if you want to have debates or find good information. And I'm also on Facebook, Karen B FE. And I'm also on Twitter as Karen BFE, I believe, is my name on Twitter as well. So that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Brilliant. All right, take it away, guys, and kill the stream. Adam.
You don't forget to kill the stream, Adam.
It is important to note that suddenly, and against all probability,
Don't play it now.
Had been called into existence.
When did you want to play it?
There's no pleasing you, is there, mate?
We're over.
Are we over? Okay.
There's just no timetabling you lot, is there? Just like fucking
Caught.
herding cats.
Caught, abort. What should we leave with, John? Do you
Push
want...
the button and leave.
You can't get involved in production.
Push the button, Frank.
Right.
Nope, we'll do it John's way. Just push the button.
Yeah, we'll see you in 10.